All right, today we're diving into something, well, it's a truly wild idea. It's a new proposal that tries to solve one of the biggest puzzles in cosmology, and it does it by challenging the most fundamental thing we think we know, what reality is actually made of. The idea is, what if the universe isn't made of stuff at all, but something much, much more basic? I mean, this is the ultimate question, isn't it? What came before the Big Bang? For decades, physics has pretty much hit a brick wall right here. Most theories, they try to answer it with something. A particle, some kind of energy, a quantum field. But what if the answer isn't something physical at all? What if we've been looking in the wrong place entirely? Okay, so section 1, what is reality made of? We're talking about moving beyond matter and energy to a pre-physical starting point. To even begin to answer that question about what came before the Big Bang, this whole framework says we have to completely rethink what the universe is built on. It's arguing we need to go back, way back, to a point before physics as we know it even existed. And this is the radical leap. I mean, forget everything you've learned about particles or strings or fields. This hypothesis proposes that before anything existed, there was only potential, a pure, raw capacity for something to happen. It's not stuff, but the possibility of stuff. Wild, right? So, next up, the first distinction. This is where we introduce the primitive that builds the entire cosmos. Okay, so if you start with literally nothing physical, how in the world do you get, well, everything? The answer, according to this new idea, comes down to a single, incredibly simple building block. And that building block is called capacity to notice. Now hold on, this isn't consciousness or awareness like you and I experience it, not at all. Think of it as the most basic, fundamental function you can possibly imagine, the raw ability to just register a difference, to make a distinction. And the key is, this ability exists even before there's anything physical to distinguish. It's like the universe's latent potential to hold information. And this is the ignition moment, the spark. The very instant that raw capacity actually acts, it creates the first ever piece of information, the first distinction, the first this is not that. The source material gives it a great name, the primordial registry. It's like the universe's first thought, the moment potential snaps into actuality. So reality, according to this, is the capacity to notice making distinctions, then infinitely propagating them. I mean, look at that. That's the entire theory, right there, in one sentence. It's this beautiful, compact engine for a cosmos. A capacity makes a single distinction, and that one simple act kicks off an infinite chain reaction that builds everything. All right, next section. The infinite ripple effect, or how one distinction creates the entire universe. So how does this one initial distinction actually build on itself? How does it scale up from a single bit of information into the vast, complex universe we all see around us? Okay, so think of it like a single drop of water hitting a perfectly still pond. That first distinction, that's the primordial registry, the first ripple. But here's the magic. That very act of creating a ripple makes new things to be noticed, the edge of the ripple against the still water. So now those new things can be distinguished, creating more ripples. You see how this works? Each distinction creates the opportunity for more distinctions. They just keep compounding recursively in this self-amplifying cascade, a combinatorial explosion of new states. And this leads to one of the biggest takeaways of the whole idea, what we call cosmic expansion. According to this model, it's not space stretching out like a balloon. It's this informational explosion. It's the runaway process of new distinctions being created and noticed, constantly, infinitely, increasing the number of things that can be told apart from each other. The universe is expanding because it's becoming more complex, more detailed. And the source material even gives us this formal expression for it. S equals I squared times infinity. Now, don't worry about the math. The concept is what's important. It's basically saying that the entire structure of reality, the whole shebang, is the result of information compounding on itself infinitely. We live in a universe built not on matter, but on ever-increasing distinguishability. Okay, let's bring this back down to Earth. This is all fascinating, super abstract stuff, but you might be thinking, so what? Does it actually do anything? Well, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the theory gets applied to one of the biggest headaches in modern cosmology. The problem is this: why do our best measurements of the universe disagree? For years now, astronomers have been facing this totally bizarre situation. When they try to measure how fast the universe is expanding, they keep getting two different answers, depending on where they look. And it's not a small difference. It's a major crisis in the field. And this crisis has a name, the Hubble tension. Here's the deal. If you measure the expansion rate using light from the very early universe, the cosmic microwave background, you get one number. But if you use stuff from the more recent universe, like distant supernova, you get a different number, a faster number. And the really frustrating part, the error bars don't overlap. It's not a measurement error. Physics is officially stuck. And here is this model's incredibly elegant solution. It basically says the Hubble tension isn't a contradiction at all. It's exactly what we should expect to see. Think back to that ripple in the pond. When we measure the early universe, the cosmic microwave background, we're essentially looking at the ripples near the very start of the process. The recursion depth is shallow. But when we measure the late universe with supernovae, we're looking at ripples much farther out, much deeper into the cascade, where countless more distinctions have compounded. Of course they give different results. They're measuring fundamentally different stages of the universe's informational growth. So get this, the tension is not a bug. It's the signature of the mechanism that built the universe. That cosmic crisis that's been driving physicists crazy? According to this framework, it isn't a flaw in our models or our measurements. It's the primary piece of evidence. It's the fingerprint of a universe being built, layer by recursive layer, from an infinite chain of distinctions. All right, last section here is about testing this radical idea. Does this framework actually hold up to scrutiny? It's a really compelling story, for sure, but is it just a story? Can you even test an idea this abstract? Well, the source material actually details some preliminary checks they ran, just to see if the model's at least logically consistent with itself. And you know what? The initial results are pretty promising. They basically built a logical model of this whole distinction cascade, and they stress tested it. And they found that the whole idea of different recursion depths giving you different apparent expansion rates was internally consistent. It worked. And crucially, they couldn't find a single counterexample that made the core idea, that capacity to notice primitive, just collapse on itself. So while this isn't physical proof, not by a long shot, it does show the hypothesis is, at least so far, logically sound. So let's just zoom all the way back out for a second and think about what this all means. If this way of thinking is even partially on the right track, it completely flips our picture of reality on its head. Think about it. We wouldn't be living in some kind of physical clockwork machine made of tiny little billiard balls. We would be living inside an emergent structure of pure information. And those distinctions, they aren't just abstract ideas. They form stable, repeating patterns that we perceive as particles, which then build up into the atoms, stars, and galaxies that we see. It all emerges from this infinite chain of noticing. And that leaves us with one final, really mind-bending thought to chew on. If reality really is just a chain of distinctions, and if the whole cosmos is built from a capacity to notice, then what is our role in all this? We ourselves are these incredibly complex systems, capable of noticing. Does our own awareness, our consciousness, play a part in this cosmic chain? It's a pretty profound question, and one that this idea forces us to ask.